Hey everyone, today I tried solving this two finger keyboard problem. Initially, I thought I was going on the right track. I was using the minimum distance I wanted from each hand, more like a greedy approach, but I couldn't get it right. And later, I spent maybe 2 hours on it, and then I looked into like the correct approach and understood like it's actually a dynamic programming problem, which is my weak suit right now. I'm still trying to learn dynamic programming, but let's go through my thinking, how I began, and what I learned. Let's start another day. Let me close these tights. Let's see what we have today. Find minimum distance to type a word using two fingers. You have a keyboard layout as shown in the XY plane. Let me close my monitor 1 second. You have a keyboard layout shown in an XY plane where each English uppercase letter is located at some coordinate. Okay. For example, letter A is at 0, 0, letter B is located at 0, 1. P is located at coordinate 22, 3, and letter C is located at coordinate 4, 1. Given the string word, return the minimum total distance to type such a string using only two fingers. So, given a word, given a string, return the minimum total distance. So, between the two coordinates. So, total distance between x is x1 minus x2 plus y1 minus y2. Note that initial position of your two fingers are considered free, so do not count towards initial position does not count towards your total distance. Also, your two fingers do not have to start at the first letter. Okay. For example, word cake. C is at 0, 3. Finger 1 is at 0, cos 0, and finger 1 on letter. Total distance from letters. Finger 1 is on letter A. Distance from letter C to letter A is 2. And finger 2 is on K. Where is K? And E on total distance is 3. One optimal way to type. Happy is so do we also have to find the optimal way. So when let's say we have what we have, let me create 3 by 4 grid, right? And then let me type in, I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, L. So this is row 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, and 2. So what we have is, sorry, if what will be the minimum, let's say if one letter is A and other is at H, so another is at B. So first I have to decide, do I decide which finger will for what letter? Or let's say if I find A is at 0, right, and H is at 1 comma 2, sorry, 2 comma 1, right? The distance between A and H is what, of 1, 2, so x1 minus 2 minus 0 and y2 minus y1, right? So that would be 3. And between, and then we have a B, and B is at 0, 1. So what happens if you have 3 characters? Sorry. Note that the position of your two fingers are considered free, so do not count towards your total distance. Also, your two fingers do not have to start for two fingers. So the last position of finger. So if there's 3, which one is closer? So for B, I have to check from, so let's say this is finger 1, finger 2, and this is either finger 1 or finger 2, right? So for each, so finger 1, let's say if we have finger 1 here, so A and B distance for finger 1, that would be 0 plus 1. For finger 2, what would be 2 minus 0, 2 plus 0, so 1 and 2. So the optimal way would be if this is finger 1, this is finger 1, but this finger 1 is always for the first letter. You have a keyboard layout, each English uppercase. Now for each letter, what do you have to return? You have to return the integer for each letter. Do we map first? How do we find for each letter? Let's map the x comma y coordinate, right, initially, and then what do? Then we see the then word bracket 0 is always finger 1. That initial position of it if you are considered free. So and then the second character we see. So for example, this example, H was the first. Oh, sorry, H was finger 1, and instead of A being the finger 2, so should we have, we see if we use the second finger or no. So how do we do this? Should we, since the XY plane is what? So 1, 2, 3, 6 rows and 6 columns, right? So the max is 6 by 6. If the second character distance is greater than 3, we select the second finger, maybe. For example, H was where? So for example, here, and P is all the way across here, right? From A to P would be, so okay. So we select the second finger now. What do we have now? We have initialize, and we select the second finger, and then start computing the distance, and we check the same thing against the, and update the coordinate for the new finger positions, the same thing against the new finger, and compute the distance. So let's first map everything in our X and Y coordinate. I think this, I don't know if this is the optimal way, but so how will we map from, these don't matter, right? These last 4 don't matter. So what kind of thing would I want? I want to have a structure where a character is for values array of index, right? For rows and column. That's what I want for A and up till B. We are not given, you have a keyboard layout as shown in the XY plane. So we have given a keyboard layout. So we are given the number of rows, right? So what I will do, let me create a structure. Let me create a map that will take character, map of character, comma, what else do I want? An array list of integer, comma, integer. This called given a plane equals to new hash map. So how do I, for each character, so hash code of A is, sorry, ASCII value of ASCII of capital A to Z. Capital A starts at 65, right? And Z ends at 90. So that would be capital A equals to 90 and 65 up till Z equals to 90. So what are we doing? How do I create? So also create a for loop for integer row equals to 0, row must be less than 6, row plus plus, and for teacher column equals to 0, column is also less than 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5, column must be less than 5, column plus plus. What are we doing? But we don't want the last 4 columns, right? So should I loop by columns, or should I go by, how would the correct loop be for each character in A to Z? So I should have a loop for 26 characters, and then after the Z. So what if I have a loop of for teacher I equals to 0, I must be less than 26 characters, and I plus plus. Oh, what are we doing? We are doing, for each character we set the row and column as, so we do row equals to I modulus 5, I modulus 0 modulus 1 2 3 4 5 6. So if I have something called, where is my this? So if I'm doing 1 2 3 4 7 8 9, looping through 9, so first loop would be 0 divided by 3, which is equal to 0, 0 divided by 1 divided by 3 equals to, remainder is 1. So I need the remainder, right? So X and Y should be the remainders. Are we doing plane of this, plane dot add how do we create the plane first? If I loop 26 times, map is equal to string. How to create in string? Create an integer to jar in Java. Right, if the jar. So we do typecasting. So what we should do here is plane dot add jar of character of what? Jar of character of 65 plus I, comma. What do I do? Teacher list add. I'm adding x and y values to how to add. So I would do list, right? New array list add. I need help here. How do I create? And then here I should do plane dot add plane dot. Should I use a method I use yesterday? Compute if absent is comma array list. See, let me use some help here. Right way, but I want to create hash map of each capital character against a y plane. I will get x, y coordinate with dividing them by 6 and 5. Is this feasible with my method? Because this can only take or pairs, it's 2 values per entry. Oh, why am I using that? I should be using a small class cleaner list of point. That would be correct. One, two, three, four, five. I think it's 6 columns, right? So we would have something called if each letter has one coordinate better is this. So we could have is 6 equals to I need to use if send, or we can use lambda means one key one value notably. So we can have a put function. So I didn't knew this. So plain dot put. So we would have something called let me have a class. So what this is, you can have a small class point, right? Let me have a class point. This dot x equals to x. This dot y equals to y, right? Let me have it in capital P. So I have a class that takes in x and y. Class point, sorry, why am I constructing a constructor here? And then point x teacher x comma and teacher y, right? X comma y. So x equals to this or y equals to y. Point class should be outside the main method. If I don't use static, so static means static classes we share an instant in class and update occurs, right? So we have the same one for everything. Static class point. So now what do we have? We have a map, and I want to have an integer array. Takes an integer array. That's correct. Let's see. Map is capital, right? I keep making these small. Map of and I want to use point teacher column 1 2 3 equals to 6, right? So we don't need to use typecasting is needed, but character ch equals to jar of it's 65 plus I. What I'm doing plain dot ch comma point of, I need to get teacher x equals to row would be I divided by columns, right? And teacher y equals to I modulus. This is how we will get plus columns ch comma point of x comma y. So what do we have? So now I have a full map. So we're given the word is given. So how do we keep, do we have a variable called finger? Finger one is at, let's, if I say finger one is at, if I say my finger one is at B, so finger one's distance is equal to, initially is 0, so no, finger one it points to B. So for example, this finger one points at A, finger one is at A, and A is 0. Let's say A was 2 comma 3, right? Finger one points at A. If I put finger one equals to A dot value, finger one dot x, finger one dot y coordinate will be f1 dot x is equal to 2, finger one dot y equals to 3. Well, it's an array, right? Or is it? It's not an array, it's dot, because it's a class. So now to access it will be dot method, right? Because dot x and dot y value, right? F1 dot x will be 2, f1 dot y will be 3. Finger one should be the minimum distance. So should I have a distance variable? Let me create teacher distance check equals to 0. What I want to do is, if the distance check is, while it's less than 1 2 3 4 5 6, the distance check is greater than 3, should I keep 1 0 1 2 3 4 5? Finger 1 should be 0 1 2 is greater than 3, we switch to finger 2. This is what I want to do. Now what am I doing? I have an integer, so also integer sum equals to 0 for character C in what, for each character in, what am I given? Let me just have a loop, or loop for teacher to 0, I must be less than word, given what, word is given, right? So word dot length I plus plus character ch equals to char at word or at I. Okay, we have for each word, first we are checking, so teacher f1 equals to word at I. Do I consider the, let's say if my finger one was at which is at 0 1 2 and 1 2 3 0 1 2, let me go use, so I'm at 1 2 3 4 3 comma 4 3, let's say my finger one is at 3 comma 4. So how would I define, should I consider, no, let's think of it as, let's say for example this scenario, I have initially my finger one is at K, right? K is at 1 comma 1, right? Let's say K is at 3 comma 1 and the next finger is at somewhere, let's say at C, that is 0 comma 2. C is at 0 comma 2. So now I want, so what do I want? I want, first I want to check the distance check function. Distance check should be less than 3. So do I compute, first I compute the distance between the first, so let's say I have something called key CAB, that's the word I'm given, string I'm given. So I have K at 3 1, so I have 3 1 and 0, so initially we start at 3 1. So if I see distance check is what, x3 plus 2 minus 1 1, which is 4, which is greater than 3. So do I start, because I want to check for the second one, right? The first one I will keep as is. So what do I do here? I'm not gonna do anything. First I have character 1, and then so when I have the character y, so I check for character I in plain, what values do I have? And since it's, so do I have the x1, teacher x1 equals to plain is a hash map, right? Plain of plain dot value is equal to plain dot value of point. So if I want to access this, I would do plain dot values, I would get the point object dot x. So to access the y, I would do something like x2 equals to plain dot value at value of of a dot x. Values doesn't take a key, it returns all values. So if your map is get the value, okay, so I will have the point object, right? For int p equals to plain dot get the value of ch. So let me start at this. Ch is equal to character at 0 and finger 1 character at finger 1 equals to word at char 0 char bracket I minus 1. Okay, if I do the same thing and this way, I'll do this finger 2. So no, I want to check finger 1 is that, right? So finger 1 is that, and let me get this out of here, right? Windows C, finger 1 will always be character windows.char at 0, right? Finger get at ch equals to word or char at I point p is equal to this, and teacher x2 equals to p dot x, teacher y equals to y2 dot x, and finger 1 point p equals to plain dot get whatever is at finger 1, right? x1 equals to p dot x, and teacher y2 to p dot y. So now check if we have the distance. I have the distance check equals to math dot absolute of x2 minus x1 plus absolute of y2 minus y1. If the distance check is less than distance check is greater than 3, we do what? We do sum. That is correct, right? Then we do sum plus equals to distance check, and then our take the distance check and x1 equals to, so if I have then x1 equal to, but what if I want to go back to the a value? I don't want to change the p1.x. p1.x will remain unchanged, right? Yeah, p1.x will remain unchanged. x1 equals to x2 and a1 equals to y2. If not, then still do sum equals to distance check. We don't update the pointers. Let's say if the distance was close by, so for example this thing finger 1 and 1, so what we're doing is, so initially for each word I have an x. So initially I have, so first let's say we take this as an example, like this thing, x and y is fixed, x2 is 0, y2 is 0, right? So for first loop what's happening is our distance is 4, right, and it's greater than 3. Our sum becomes 3, sum equals to 3, but don't we want the most optimal path? It'd be the most optimal path between the two letters. So we need to have something called, instead of hard, this is wrong I think. 1 second, let me get rid of this for loop income. No, I need to get rid of all this. Okay, we back here, we put the planes. So right now we have the full plane set up. So for each character in word, for example cake, so C is here, finger 1 is at C, so we got the coordinates. For the first one we are not doing anything. For the second one, where does the finger 2 matter though? If it's on the same axis, doesn't matter. But let's say, well, C and K are, where is K? K is over here. A2. So finger 2 is on P, and finger 2 is on P. J, P, P. PP is 0, and Y just from A to Y. 0 to that finger 1 is at A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minus 0 plus, how is it 4? A x2 1 2 3 4 5, x is 0, so y is 5 minus, x is that way, y is down 4. Yeah, 4 minus that I got. So for each character what should we do? We should, so for each character A, let me rethink it. Okay, if A is at 0 0, okay, also let me have a second character I want to go is F. F is at 2 comma 2, and then B is at 0 1, right? So how would I decide which finger? So initially I would go start at A, so then I will do the distance check between A and B, which would be 1, and if it's less than 3, I update the sum is 1, right? And now next I will check the distance between A and B, distance between, now if I am here, A and B I checked, I want the x and y of A, x2 and y2, right? So once I've done that, I want, and it's less than 3, my new x and y should be y2, right, for next comparison, because that's my current. If the distance is not, let's say this f doesn't satisfy, is greater than 3, if f is greater than 3, what am I doing? I have a new, so x2 is equal to whatever f dot x, and x3 equals to f dot y. Okay, say I have another letter here, z, which is at 4 comma 3. For z I will check distance check from this one, whichever is minimum I will add, and then I will update those values for this, and at the end I will update the sum. So I want to have, like, what do I want to do? So we want to go through each character. Just type in this. I want to go through each character. What do I want to do? First, compute the distance check between the first two characters. If the distance check is greater than, if it's less than 3, then our first and update to new x and y values. Else we create new, else we update each character, have 4 in x1 y1 2 y2, else we use x2 and y2, but the distance initially should be, distance traveled should be 0. For the third and following, we check the minimum distance check between both cases and add that to the sum and update the and y for that selected, and right. So this is what I want to, so what do I do? So I'll have a loop called for I equals to 0, I must be less than word dot length, right, I plus plus, and have teacher x1 comma, do I initialize everything? So for the first two I need to do a hard code first two. 0 y1 equals to 0, x2 equals to 0, teacher y2 equals to 0, right? What do I have? I have point object e equals to plain dot get character ch equals to 4 dot char at I dot get I, right? So should I have a loop if I is greater than character ch equals to word dot char at I, x1 equals to p dot x, y1 equals to p dot y, right? So I will have x1 and y1 initially, and then I want, what do I want? So after I got the first x coordinate of the object of the character, I want to go check the other characters x and y coordinate, and if the distance check is the same, less than 3, so let me, instead of this, Okay, let me create first finger, right? Let me have this. I want to have the point object p is equal to plain dot get word dot char at 0 0. So x1 should be p dot x, y1 should be p dot y initially. I don't want to have x2 and y2. For I equals to 1 and I must be less than word dot length. First I will have another point p equals to word dot char at I. Okay, got the next character. Now what do I want for that? For that character I want to check. So teacher y2 equals to 0 just for now. So x and y I have for point p and teacher I equals to p dot x and integer y j equals to p dot y. I have distance check. Why don't I create a function for distance check? So what does the function returns? An integer. Let me create a function called private int distance check that takes teacher x1 comma y1 comma integer x2 comma integer y2 z2 return dot absolute of x2 minus x1 plus dot absolute of y2 minus y1, right? So we do check of x1 y1 comma distance check equals distance check of x1 x is outside comma I. If the distance check is less than 3, that means what that means our finger stays same. See this later. If that means finger stays same, if the finger stays same, we will do sum plus equals to distance check, right? And our x1 should be equal to value of I and y1 should be value of j. If this happens, then else if our distance is greater than 3, we do, this is only for the second word, right? Else if the distance is greater than 3, we initialize x2 and y2. So what do we do? Integers 2 equals to I, teacher y2 equals to j. So we have the second hand. I must be less than length. Are we given the word that length is greater than 2? Else our other pointers are at the other index. We do the distance check. तो होना रहेगा, ठीक है? And then let's say our ij was not, this loop doesn't, this for the code doesn't work. Then what do we want to do? We want to go to the other part of the code and it should do. So we have the second finger, some not going to be updated, and then we check. So we have these, and then this should only happen for the first two characters, but after that we will check the minimum distance between the two fingers. What if I have a while loop? While I is less than 2, we do this all called this. We do window shift F, or how am I supposed to format this code? It's option, control option F. Okay, so I is less than 2, we do else we check. Then what do we want to check the minimum distance. Then another point p is equal to dot char at I, that will be do if I is less than 2, we do this. If less than 2 false, so we do point p is equal to char p is equal to dot char at I, that will be 3 on words. and we check teacher I equals to p dot x, teacher j equals to p dot y, right? So distance check equals to add dot minimum of we check is equal, because we also want to update in teacher. Should we have two distances and we check which one is less? So if I have distance check is equal to distance check of between those two, for the third character I want to see so distance check have my teacher distance from x to distance check of I comma j and the value of x1 and y1 from this finger 1 and teacher distance of finger equal to distance check of comma j comma 2 comma y2, right? So now I have both of these. Now minimum distance should be if distance of finger 1 is less than distance of finger 2. What do we want to do? We want to keep the finger sum plus equals to distance of finger 1 and x1 equals to I and y1 equals to j. Also what we do, sum plus equals to distance of finger 2 and x2 equals to I, y2 equals to j. So did I, and then we return sum. Let's see if user is not authenticated. What do you mean? The logout? Second, let me just copy paste. Oh, I have to sign in. I got logged out. How did that happen? Okay, let's some errors. Expected static class point. Didn't I do this? Okay. Oh, okay. How many errors? I have a lot of errors. So cannot find symbol plain. Oh, PL. So line 30 error should be fine. Line 30 error ch. What is this? Vector ch comma point of x and y. Cannot find symbol. Okay, 54. 4 in is correct. 54. Since p is already defined up there. Put it p2. p2 dot x. Okay, I is already in the method. 54, 55. Oh yeah, I is already. Let me have this instead of I. Teacher k plus plus. K for I is less than k. Distance check is x1, y1, yj. That's correct. Else it is correct. At k it is correct. 67. Where did I define x2? Yeah, so instead of def x2, I just want to initialize x2, right? 73. Else point p2. Let's try to get rid of most of the errors. Cannot find dot put point of x and y must be less than length types point p2 point. Okay, point p2. Am I? Yeah, I did something here. So should be plain dot get a. Okay, but the cannot find the symbol. Line 30. What does line 30 do? Teacher I must be less than 0. Character c. Character comma point of line has c. Okay, spent over hours on this. I liked it because I think I had the right intuition, but let's see. You see some error, but I'm thinking on the right track. Okay, equals to minimum cost of it. So we convert the characters. So our whole this was wrong. We needed to be done using dynamic programming. Okay, let me reset. I don't need to reset, I just need to, this is fine. From here up till this part I'll cross out. Yeah, and new. So I've created a new object and then I have teacher n equals to dot, and let me create my distance. So I have a private and okay, naming should be that takes in a map of a character, point object, map, call it plain, and then it takes an integer a and takes an integer b. So what we do is point p1 equals to p1 is equal to plain dot get character of a plus, yeah, of a plus, yeah, that's correct. Point 1 equals to plain dot get character at a, plain dot get char of a plus capital A plus c b point p2 is equal to a b. Okay, and then what do we return? What we did yesterday, math dot absolute of 0.1. Okay, so we have word length, right? So dp I need to learn. Dynamic ij is the cost of index I. This is the minimum cost at index I and other finger at j. So the value of this is the minimum cost at index I. dp equals new integer of n word dot. So there's 6 letters, whatever word there are. So for each row in dp, for integer and starting at no cost, I must be less than length minus 1, current is equal to word dot char at I 1 minus a. Okay, so what's happening here? Okay, let's try. Bro, it's 8 o'clock. Okay, so I have new integer of n. So each word has n and 27. Okay, and then for each in our dp, we are filling arrays dot fill each row integer dot max value. Okay, and then initially we want to set our dp of the first letter to be 0. Okay, and then we start to for teacher I equals to 0, I must be less than n minus 1, right, and I plus plus. What are we doing? We are checking integer current equals to word dot char at I minus a, capital A, and integer next equals to word dot char at, why is that in capital, char at I plus 1 minus a. And then we start another loop for teacher j equals to 0, j must be less than equal to 26, j plus plus. What are we checking now? We're checking dp of I and j equal to integer dot max value. We continue, else teacher cost 1 equals to dp of I j plus the distance of plain comma current comma next, right, and dp of I plus 1 bracket. So add dot min of dp of, add dot min of dp of I plus 1 bracket j comma cost 1 teacher second cost 2 equals to dp of I and j plus j equal to 26, then 0. Not we do j of plain comma j comma I plus, I don't know what's happening here, honestly. I'm gonna get a bit of clarification on this part of the code. So I struggle with dynamic. I have no cost 2, right, and then let me have integer answer equals to integer dot max value for teacher j equals to 0, j must be less than equal to 26, j plus plus, answer equals to add dot minimum of what, answer comma dp of 1, return answer. Okay, I want to help visualizing whole code from here. Let's see, visualize portion of the code extending. So for this dpij means, so we at index I we just type word I, right? One finger is a word I, the other finger is a letter j. Value is the minimum cost from this finger or that finger. So why we have 27? So we have 0, 1 finger not used. So word cake step 0, we initialize 0 and the last finger is at 26. So one finger is on C, the other finger is unused, so cost is 0. Step 1. So what's happening here is our current is, so next is at A, right? Now we look at 0 bracket 26. Option 1, same finger moves. We go from C to A. Cost 1 is dp of ij plus cost distance of plane A and B, plane of current. So let's take it 1 dp of current finger like this. Before finger 1 is current, finger 2 is at J. If finger 2 types next, finger 2 becomes A, finger 1 stays at area. So now every step you always end with one finger on the current letter, other finger, final loop. Word one finger could be anywhere, just take the minimum. He is doing at every step. Try both fingers, remember the best. So you're thinking which finger should I use now? Just try both. So okay, I'm gonna cut the now. Try to get in my head. I don't wanna waste time. Okay, what did I do here? Integer cannot find. Let's see, cannot find. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm gonna study this on my own, bro. My head is all jumbled up with all this.